We call it the cloud. But here's the thing. It was never really in the sky. Not even a little bit. The cloud lives in Virginia, Oregon, Ireland, Singapore. Giant buildings filled with endless server racks. On the ground. Always on the ground. Every time you stream something, search something, send a message, it passes through one of those massive buildings. On Earth, those buildings eat electricity, they drink water, they swallow land. And because of AI, even that may not be enough anymore. So some of the most powerful companies on Earth are asking a truly strange question. What if the cloud actually left Earth? To understand why, let's go back a bit. Because data centers weren't always this important. Not 10 years ago. Back then, a data center was just the internet's back room. Nobody talked about it. It wasn't strategic. It wasn't glamorous. Then AI happened. And AI doesn't just need smart software, it needs enormous amounts of electricity, compute power, and cooling. Constantly. Here's a number that might shock you. A typical AI-focused data center consumes as much electricity as 100,000 households. One facility, the largest ones being built today, consume 20 times that. 20 times 100,000 households from a single building complex. Let that sink in. The DOE reported data centers consumed 4.4% of all U.S. electricity in 2023. By 2028, that could hit 12%. By 2030, global data center power demand could exceed Japan's entire electricity consumption today. One industry, bigger than an entire developed nation. In the old world, oil-powered empires, ships, factories, armies. If you controlled oil, you controlled everything. You know how that story goes. In the AI world, compute is the new oil. Whoever trains bigger models faster holds the strategic advantage. Full stop. No exceptions. So here's my question for you. If compute is the new oil, what happens when you start running out of room to build? That's exactly the question some very powerful people started asking. And their answer was, honestly, kind of shocking. Go to space. I know what you're thinking. Space data centers? That sounds like bad science fiction, but here's the thing. Look at who's actually doing it. Start with Google. In November 2025, Google published research called Project Suncatcher. And it is exactly what it sounds like. Google's idea: launch small solar-powered satellites loaded with their custom AI chips, TPUs, connected by free space laser links. In actual orbit, why? Because in the right orbit, a solar panel can be up to 8 times more productive than on Earth. 8 times. Google even radiation tested their TPU chips using a particle beam lab. Results were encouraging. The chips survived far beyond the expected mission dose. By early 2027, Google plans prototype launches in partnership with Planet Labs. This is not a white paper dream. This is an actual engineering timeline. Wait, Google is literally designing satellite AI clusters to orbit Earth? You didn't know that? Neither did most people. Keep listening. Then there's Starcloud, a startup most people haven't heard of. In March 2026, they raised $170 million at a $1.1 billion valuation. Starcloud isn't just talking. In November 2025, they launched a satellite with an actual Nvidia H100 GPU chip on board, in orbit. They demonstrated AI training and inference happening in space. For real, in actual orbit, running actual workloads above the Earth, an industry first. Their long-term plan? An 88,000 satellite constellation acting as one massive orbital data center. That is not a typo. 88,000 satellites. And Starcloud's partners? Amazon Web Services, Google, Nvidia, not fringe players. The entire mainstream AI technology ecosystem is backing this. Now, Elon Musk. At Davos in January 2026, Musk said space solar data centers are, and I'm quoting, a no-brainer. SpaceX filed with the FCC for a 1 million satellite orbital data center network. 1 million. They also merged SpaceX's resources with xAI. Jeff Bezos predicted in October 2025 that gigawatt-scale data centers will exist in space within 10 to 20 years. He sounded confident. These giant training clusters will be better built in space, Bezos said. Solar power 24/7. No clouds, no rain, no weather. Blue Origin is working on it. Europe too. The EU funded a study called Ascend through Thales Alenia Space. The conclusion? Space data centers could support carbon neutrality and digital sovereignty. And China. State aerospace giant CASC announced plans to build gigawatt-class space AI infrastructure within 5 years. It's in their official 5-year plan. A Chinese startup called Guoxing Aerospace already deployed Alibaba's Qwen AI model onto satellites in January 2026, running entirely in orbit. Right now? So let's recap. Google, SpaceX, Starcloud, Blue Origin, the EU, China, all looking at the same sky, all seeing server racks. So why does space sound so attractive? Let's hear the case for it. Because on paper, it's actually pretty compelling. Problem 1 on Earth. Electricity. Grids are strained. Building new power plants takes years. AI demand is outpacing every infrastructure plan ever written. In space? Solar panels in sun-synchronous orbit receive near-continuous sunlight. No night cycles, no seasonal variation. 8 times more productive than Earth. Problem 2. Water. Data centers use enormous amounts of water to cool servers. In drought-prone regions, this causes serious political backlash. Serious in space? No cooling water needed at all. Waste heat radiates directly into the cold vacuum. Nature handles the thermal problem automatically for free. Problem 3. Land. Data centers need real estate, permits, zoning approvals, environmental reviews. It can take years, sometimes more. Opponents love to delay. In space? Orbit has no zoning board, no neighborhood opposition, no local government saying not in my backyard, no drought restrictions, just physics. There's also a bonus use case. Earth observation satellites generate enormous data volumes. Processing that data in orbit, right at the source, is faster. Sounds pretty great, right? Unlimited solar, no water bills, no zoning fights. So, where's the catch? There's always a catch. The first catch is one that surprises almost everyone, including me when I first read it. It has to do with heat. Specifically, getting rid of it. Quick question. What's the hardest engineering challenge for space data centers? Power? Communication? Distance? The answer is cooling. Yes, really. Here's the twist. Space is cold. Minus 270 degrees Celsius in the deep vacuum. So cooling should be easy, right? Wrong. Completely wrong. On Earth, you cool things with air and water. Those fluids carry heat away through convection. Fans work. Pipes work. Everything works beautifully. In space, there's almost no air. There's no fluid to carry heat away by convection. The only mechanism left is radiation. Slow, limited, difficult. That means you need large radiator panels to dump heat into space. Those panels add mass. Mass costs money to launch. A lot of money. Google's own research paper admits thermal management is a critical, unsolved challenge. Their TPU chips run hot. Dumping that heat in vacuum is genuinely hard. The GAO's April 2026 report put it bluntly. Space does not cool computing hardware efficiently. A major engineering problem. Unresolved. No proven solution at scale. The servers may leave Earth, but the laws of physics follow them, and thermodynamics doesn't care how ambitious your pitch deck was. Cooling is hard, but cooling isn't the problem that keeps security analysts up at night. This next one is far more disturbing. What happens when a data center becomes national infrastructure? It becomes a target. And in space, the nature of that threat changes completely. First, anti-satellite weapons. The US, Russia, and China have all tested ASAT weapons capable of destroying satellites in orbit. That capability exists now. If a space data center handles military AI, financial systems, or national infrastructure, it's not just tech anymore. It's a first-strike target. Second, jamming. The most common real-world satellite attack isn't kinetic. It's radio frequency jamming, disrupting the signal, blinding the link. Silently. In 2022, Russia jammed Viasat's satellite network 1 hour before invading Ukraine. Tens of thousands of European modems went dark, instantly, no warning. Think about that. One jamming attack, 1 hour before a war. Now imagine a data center in orbit carrying national AI infrastructure being jammed. Third, space debris. Every destroyed satellite creates a cloud of fragments moving at thousands of miles per hour. That debris threatens every other satellite. The GAO's 2026 report warned that thousands of new data center satellites would significantly increase orbital congestion and collision risk. That's a real concern. Fourth, radiation. Space radiation can silently corrupt data, flip bits in memory, and degrade hardware over time. No physical attack required. Physics does the damage. Fifth, the software supply chain. Satellite software has dependencies like any other system. Hack the code update pipeline and you may not need a rocket at all. A data center doesn't become safer by going to space. The threat surface doesn't shrink. It just changes shape and becomes harder to defend. There's one more problem. Data centers aren't useful in isolation. They have to talk. And getting data between orbit and Earth is genuinely difficult. Traditional radio frequency links work, but they can be jammed, intercepted, or disrupted. They're also limited in bandwidth compared to what AI workloads demand. The better option? Free space optical communications. Laser links. Faster, harder to intercept, far more bandwidth. NASA demonstrated 200 Gbps laser comms in 2022. Google's Project Suncatcher design targets terabits per second between satellites. That's the kind of throughput needed to make orbital AI actually useful. But lasers have their own problems. Clouds block them. Precision beam alignment is extremely challenging at orbital speeds. Ground infrastructure is expensive to build globally. And here's the strategic implication. Every signal between Earth and orbit is a doorway. For latency, for interception, for disruption, for asymmetric warfare. So what gets processed in space first? Probably not streaming video. More likely, military data, Earth observation, scientific research. Latency-tolerant work only. So why does any of this actually matter? Here's what I want you to take away. This story is not really about satellites or servers. This is a story about a fundamental shift. AI competition has moved beyond who builds the smartest model. Way, way beyond that, into physical infrastructure. Whoever controls compute controls AI. Whoever controls energy controls compute. Whoever controls launch capability and orbital slots may control the next layer of compute. For big tech companies, this is about escaping bottlenecks. Land, power, water, political backlash. Space offers a long-term exit from all of them. For space companies, orbital data centers are the next killer app. The business case that justifies everything. The rockets, the satellites, the infrastructure. For governments, this is about sovereignty. Controlling your own AI infrastructure means controlling your own AI future. No foreign cloud dependency, ever. China's KSC plan explicitly links space AI infrastructure to national AI sovereignty and military capability. This is not a research paper. This is geostrategy. And as terrestrial power grids strain and land becomes harder to secure, every year that passes makes the orbital pitch more compelling to investors. Here's the question I keep coming back to. Are we solving AI's resource problem, or are we just moving human ambition and conflict into a new arena? So let's land this plane. Are space data centers real? Yes. Are they replacing AWS or Google Cloud this decade? Absolutely not. But the signals are unmistakable. Google launches prototypes in 2027. Starcloud has chips flying in orbit today. China's constellation is actively being built, the most realistic near-term path. Space data centers for Earth observation, military intelligence, scientific data, and latency-tolerant AI. Not your streaming service. But here's what's clear. Every year that power becomes more expensive and land harder to find, orbit starts to look like the better option. Maybe the future cloud won't be in Virginia or Oregon. Maybe it'll circle above us, powered by the sun, speaking through lasers. Training models in silence. But if the cloud leaves Earth, it doesn't leave politics behind. It doesn't leave war behind. It doesn't leave human ambition behind. We may move the servers into space. But the real question is this. Are we moving intelligence upward, or just moving our conflicts into orbit? That's a wrap for today. The cloud was never in the sky, but AI just might push it there. And everything that comes with it.